Hello dear learners, let us continue the discussion on need-based perspectives on motivation. In the previous session, we have discussed about three different frameworks. We discussed about the contribution by Abraham Maslow's theory on need hierarchy. Then we talked about the contributions of Clayton Elderfer with respect to ERG theory, and we talked about the various similarities and differences between need hierarchy and ERG theory. We also talked about the dual structure theory proposed by Herzberg and colleagues, wherein we talked about the different kind of factors which relates to either job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction, and we have kind of concluded that hygiene factors can only prevent dissatisfaction. In order to increase people's motivation level, one has to work for other ways such as motivators to find the ways or the strategies that can connect with the people's motivation to direct their efforts towards the goal attainment, right? According to these three base perspective, we talked about the need deficiency will lead to, or unmet needs will lead to direct or motivate peoples to engage into some kind of behavior which will lead to the attainment of the goals, right? Let's continue the other perspective based on need content theory. Another perspective is on theory X and theory Y by McGregor. So this contribution is given in the article entitled Human Side of Enterprise given by Douglas McGregor. It highlighted and categorized employees based on certain characteristics. So we look into what kind of characteristics the employees are being categorized on and what is the role of the management in taking care of motivating individuals in the different category of employees. Now, in the article, the author mentioned, Douglas McGregor talked about the conventional view. Conventional view, according to this view, the management task is to get work done from others. Now, they labeled this particular aspect of conventional view is labeled as theory X. Now, according to theory X, this particular aspect assume that the people, individuals in the organization, they are inherently self-centered, they lack ambition, they do not have any ambitions to work, their motivation levels are low, they dislike responsibility and prefer to be led. They need continuous direction from the other people so that they can channelize their efforts toward the working. And whenever there is a change required, they will always resist the change because they don't like change, because changing means if change is there, they also have to bring in a lot of changes in them to direct the efforts towards the goal, and they want to work as little as possible. So this, according to the conventional view, is the kind of people they are categorized in the label as theory X because they dislike work, they do not want any kind of responsibility, they need continuous direction from other people in order to work, they actively resist change, and they willingly want to work as little as possible. Now, if you have to deal with these kind of employees, these category of employees, according to conventional view, the duty of the management in this case, their responsibility is to persuade, reward, punish and control the activities of workers and managing subordinate managers and workers. Now, you please note here, because people in this case will always be directed towards or motivated to work because of some kind of external stimulus, external force there, then only they will be working because they are inherently self-centered. They lack ambition. So there is outside force which is required. Because they lack ambition, they dislike responsibility, so there is no force within which will motivate them to direct efforts towards the goal attainment. So they are not motivated to indulge into the behaviors and actions which are required by the organization to enhance the performance of the organization. So if you have to deal with these kind of people, what will you do? What is required in these kind of cases? In these kind of cases, the management and the managers there have the responsibility to find out how to persuade them. Whether you want to reward them, because reward is an external stimulus to these people to get motivated to work according to the guidance being given for the goal attainment, or sometimes punishment. That's also kind of, you have to reinforce by rewards or punishment. So when people, they want to avoid punishments, right, this is also an external stimulus, they want to avoid punishment, they get into the behaviors, they show the actions which are required by the organization. So you see, with these people who are categorized under label theory X, and as per the conventional view, they have to be controlled by the management. Management need to continuously control them, continually monitor their activities, and try to manage subordinate managers and their workers. So please see that if you come across, and you will always find some kind of people in the organization who will always have to be motivated by some kind of external stimulus, because there is no force within which will motivate them to work in that. So we'll say that in public sector organization, if you really have to come across these kind of people, you see the challenge is big, because reward control is not much, right? Punishment, discipline action is not also in your hand. So if you confront these kind of individuals, largely what happens is the focus of the public organization is to look for people or recruit people who are willing to exert effort. So if you can recall our discussion on high performance organization, which I have talked about in the previous sessions, we talked about this. One of the character of the high performing organization is to recruit the people who are willing to exert that kind of an effort, right? So in case of public organization, one has to be very particular about what kind of value system people should bring with them to be aligned with the value system of the public organization, which is of providing service, effective and efficient service, and to look for the betterment of the society. You hire people whose values are matching with the motto of the public organization. So in that case, one can save oneself from a situation where you have to deal with them, because you have to control their activities, to push them or to motivate them, reinforce them, so that they can direct their efforts towards the accomplishment of the goals, right? So this is about theory X. On the other hand, according to new perspective and according to the contribution of McGregor, management of people based on human motivation. So in the previous case, conventional case, you say management task is to get work done from others by providing them rewards or punishing them or controlling their activities. In case of new perspective, you need to manage people depending upon their human motivation. We'll talk about this. Set of forces, you remember in the beginning we talked about set of forces which led people to indulge into behavior and actions for attainment of goal. So where are these set of forces, internal or external? So according to this perspective, human motivation, and the category of people who are labeled as theory Y, and this category and label assumes, this perspective assumes, according to new perspective, that people are not passive, or they are not resistant to organizational needs or changes. They have potential for development. They want to assume responsibilities. They are having readiness for directing behavior towards organizational goals. Now you see that in this case, the classic case of willingness. Okay, so these people might not require any kind of external force or stimulus to motivate them to direct their behaviors towards the attainment of goals, right? They have willingness, they are not passive, they are not resistant to any kind of organizational needs, and they have potential for development. They want to develop, they want to assume more responsibility, right? And they are ready. Their readiness is there and their willingness is there. They are also able, there is ability, there is motivation, there is willingness, and they are internally motivated. We can say that they are internally motivated. So set of forces in this case, they are within the individual. Now in this case, what becomes the responsibility of the management? We are talking about management, organizational members, leaders, managers, what the responsibility is. Now their responsibility is therefore to create opportunities, remove obstacles, meaning the leaders providing support to these people. I'll tell you why it is important for them to remove obstacles. You have to encourage their growth and providing guidance to get work done from people. Now these people who are not passive and they have potential for development, they are high performing employees, their expectation from the organization is not in terms of the rewards and incentives. Their expectation will be in terms of the high achievement from the their work that they are doing, and to do that kind of work they need support from the organizational managers and leaders. So whenever they need some kind of decision, You have to make those decisions quick. If you don't do that, what will happen? It will frustrate these people, because these people continue to look for support from their management, right? Because they are having potential for development and they want to assume responsibilities, right? So in order to get maximum benefit out of these people, it is important that the managers create opportunities for these people, involve them in the kind of projects which will give them a challenge, because they want to assume responsibility. And especially if you look into the public sector organization, where you can come across various situations which are very complex and challenging, then if you have these kind of people on board, you have to give them these opportunities. Ultimately, this will lead to the development of these people in the organization, right? So if we look at the label theory Y, we have these people who are willing to exert effort. They are not creating any kind of problems in terms of if change are initiated in the organization, they are willing to change, they have potential for development, and they also are ready to take up responsibility, assume responsibility, and they are ready to work towards the organizational goal. So what is required is we only need to delegate more and more work to these people, provide them necessary opportunities for encouraging career growth, right? Remove obstacles. Even if they come across some kind of obstacles, you give them quick decisions, help them, so that they don't feel frustrated from the system. So what they need is, they need help from the system in such a way which will only make the process smooth for them, because they want to then incline towards more performance oriented behaviors than juggling in between the management processes, right? So you try to do these things for these people and get maximum work done from these people. So if you have these kind of people on board, right, ultimately you can say that your job is half done, because these people will take on the responsibilities, these people will take on the projects which are challenging. Only they need is your support. Also, it is important that we need not to control them much and monitor them continually. Just delegate work to these people because they are willing. On the other hand, in case of conventional view and people labeled under theory X, for that, if you miss on controlling or guiding, or if you lose track of their performance, they will back out. They will not continue to show the behaviors, because the reinforcement is then removed. You continue to control them, you guide them, monitor their activities, intervene whenever is required, and then try to motivate these people. On the other hand, in this case, you just need to delegate work. Once the work is delegated, do not monitor over, do not control much. Of course, you need to monitor the performance and give them the feedback and control, but do not do over. Otherwise, you will end up frustrating people, which will actually do nothing but maybe reduce their morale, and it will impact their performance levels. So this is another way of looking at what people need in terms of showing behaviors with respect to motivated behaviors in the organization, which are then linked to the overall outcomes, right? Another need-based interesting perspective. So you have to deal with people according to the way they are. For some people, you need, we talk about this carrot and stick thing for motivation. For some people, you need to be a little more tough, because they need that kind of guidance. They want to be controlled, they want to be led. But for others, you just need to provide opportunities and create environment. You have to nurture the environment where they can develop, because they can expect support from you, quick decision making from you, and they can expect the career growth from working with you as a leader. So as leaders and public organizational managers, you see what kind of people you are surrounded by, and accordingly try to find out your own ways to deal with these people. How will you try to support these people, right? Sometimes only listening to them and communicating with them is enough to motivate these individuals, right? You need not to pay them much to incentivize them. Work itself will give them a lot of satisfaction, because the set of forces are within, right? They want to do work, they want to contribute, and they want to take up responsibility. So when they see the outcome in front, it gives them immense satisfaction. On the other hand, people with label X, they will be forced to do work, right? It is not the work which gives them the immense satisfaction. So you have to give them some external stimulus so that they are working according to the desired behavior required by the organization. So these are the contributions by McGregor's theory X and theory Y. Then another interesting framework by David McClelland's about need-based model. Three types of motivational needs which the author had talked about. Please note the references in the slides. If you want details of this, you can please read these references. Now, three motivational needs McLean talked about: achievement motivation, need for achievement; authority and power motivation, need for power. And you see also the abbreviation, please note that how they are mentioning it here. Then there is affiliation motivation, need for affiliation. So we will review these one by one and see what is going on here. Now, if you look into the achievement motivation, so some people will have higher needs for achievement, some people will have higher need for power, and some people will look for affiliation. Now, if you look at the achievement motivation, what kind of tendencies these people will show? These people, you will see, always they are dynamic. There is a dynamic restlessness in these individuals who are looking for achievement. There is a need for achievement. They want to achieve mastery over one's environment. They want to excel in everything that they do. And once they do it, they want to jump into another kind of projects which will excite them, right, to do good work and attain success in them. So they want to achieve mastery in one's environment by involving them in the various challenging projects, and they want to prove themselves that given the work which is more challenging is always going to give them much more satisfaction. So when they achieve, then they achieve success at achieving goals by their own cunning, ability and effort, then they actually derive a lot of satisfaction. So it gives them a kind of push if they see success coming in, because they believe in their efforts, they believe in their ability, and when they look at that the success that they are achieving at by achieving the goals of the organization, they are much satisfied, and they further get motivated to do much more work. So what you will see these people around which will always jump at the new projects. They want to involve in the new challenging projects always, and they want to contribute and prove themselves, right? And they want to attain success by achieving the goals of the organization and continue to do that. So if you see these kind of people around, you will notice that they will have high need for achievement. You might have seen these people in your surroundings, in your workplaces, right? Maybe if you have friends, they will have these kind of tendencies. You will notice in them, in their behaviors. They have that kind of attitude to jump into the projects, to work on the projects which give them enough challenge, and they take it as a challenge and prove themselves by attaining success, by attaining the goal of the organization. So high need for achievement. So how will you try to handle these people? They are high need achievers. So again, you need to provide them enough support, right? You have to work on certain processes with the help of which you need to handle these people. So these people, they are high performing people because they are continuously looking for high achievement. So if they are going for high performance, they will need resources. Ensure that you are giving them the necessary resources, proper decision making, information resource if they need from you, and they look forward to their organizational leaders for support and resources, right, and timely guidance, right, and performance feedback. So if you have these kind of people, look for what kind of things they want from you and you handle them accordingly. All right. Then we have people who have high need for power. Now you can look it into this aspect in both ways, negative as well as positive, but here we will talk about the need for power in a positive way. The desire to control resources in one's environment to do good, right? People want to control resources in one environment so that they can work effectively in that organization. I am talking about the positive aspect of need for power. On the other hand, people might have some kind of need for power where they want to control over resources to control others. But I'm talking about need for higher control, like assuming the responsibility, getting into the kind of projects which will give them more control and more power to do the work. So ultimately, these resource control in one's environment is actually going to satisfy their need for power, right? Maybe giving them more positions, control over financial resources, control over information, control over people, control over projects. So find out the ways how will we try to satisfy the needs of these people in the organizations, right? Another important need, because you will have always people and always you want some people to lead also, right? So you need to look for the behavioral cues in the observation of their behavior if they have shown or expressed that in the interactions with the leaders, right? Finally, there is the affiliation motivation, need for affiliation, need for human companionship. It's also about, they want people to affiliate them for their efforts. They want to be known. They want people to recognize them. They want people to recognize for their efforts, right? So, there's a strong need for affiliation. So, what you need to do with these people? How will you affiliate, satisfy the need for affiliation by these people? You have to find out ways how you can give them the recognition in public gatherings. For example, if you have the meetings you are conducting, you have to praise the efforts of these people, right? Time and again tell the community that how other people are contributing towards the success and the goal attainment of the organization. So when these people get to hear about their that people recognize the organization is giving them affiliation, so their needs are satisfied. So if you don't do it with what will happen is they will withdraw from the motivated behaviors that you are that you required from them to show. Now all the need-based framework we have seen here, they are largely focused in that need deficiency is one thing which is motivating people to indulge into behaviors and actions or express behaviors and actions which are required for goal attainment. So if needs are not taken care of, right, if needs are needs remain unmet, what will happen? People will not be able to indulge into the efforts and behaviors required by the organization. So organizations, according to understanding of the needs patterns of their employees, have to come up with certain strategies and practices and devices, various mechanisms with which they try to satisfy the needs of the individuals in the work setting and then motivate them to behave according to the desired behavior, expected behavior, performance-oriented behavior. For example, showing commitment towards the work, higher level of engagement towards the work, satisfied from the work, because all these are the important workplace environment factors, conditions which will lead to the performance among the individuals in the organizations. I hope that makes it very clear. The need-based perspective have important contributions for the organizational leaders to understand. Though these frameworks are very old frameworks, right, but still they have application in terms of understanding motivational need patterns among the individuals working in the organization, and can give a lot of indication to the organizational managers in terms of looking into these frameworks, what they can do in order to enhance the motivation level amongst the individuals in the organization, and hence enhance their performance and the goal attainment. The goals are very, very important, and in the concept of goal effectiveness and performance, we have already seen that effectiveness has various criterias. Goals are important, how to link performance with the goals, what are the means, and taking care of somebody's needs and putting them in the process also is a kind of mean that leads to the end in the organization. So all these means where you take care of your employees in terms of what they need from the system is going to lead towards the accomplishment of the goals. So creation of the environment, right, working on the environment which gives people a chance to excel and perform really well. You need to handle different kind of people depending upon what needs they are experiencing deficiency on, and depending upon you need to handle people accordingly. Please remember, you cannot have same kind of reward system or the other incentives for people depending upon who they are. You have to find out different ways depending upon what people would want from you, right? So with this, we are concluding the need-based perspectives on motivation. Let's continue the process-based perspective on motivation before we start discussing about the some Indian interesting case study, and I will talk about the application of this theory then. Okay. Now, wherein need-based perspectives talks about that unmet needs or need deficiency leads to the desired behavior, actions in terms of the expression. According to the process-based perspective on motivation, they say that there are psychological or behavioral processes which explain why people are motivated to behave or express some kind of actions which are required. Now, these perspectives, they answers how motivation occurs. Okay, there it was why motivation occurs, here it is how motivation occurs. The motivation occurs because of the processes followed by the organization. There it was why. It was why? Because unmet needs were there, need deficiency was there. That's why people were trying to show the kind of behaviors and express actions which are linked with the performance and goal outcomes. But herein people will indulge into showing the motivated behavior and action because of the processes of the organizations, right? So we will look into the three broad process-based perspective on motivation under process-based theories. First, we'll start with the equity theory of motivation. Then we'll talk about the expectancy theory of motivation, and we will conclude with the goal setting theory. So three broad theories we will talk about in terms of process-based perspective on motivation. Please remember, here the focus is on processes. In case of need-based perspective, the focus was on the needs, need deficiency, and then the relationship with the motivated behavior. Here the focus is on processes and then the motivated behavior and expressed actions. Let's first of all look at the equity theory of motivation. Stacey Adams, 1965. This particular theory, accordingly, it focuses on people's desire to be treated fairly in organizations. As the name indicates, equity theory. The meaning is focuses on people's desire to be treated fairly in organization, social comparison processes. Now, whenever people are performing in the organization, right, and they are being evaluated on and they are getting rewards or incentives from the organization, or let's say recognition from the organization, they always look for, there is a need, there is a desire that they want the organization to treat them fairly. Fairly about what? The processes used to evaluate somebody's performance should be in equity. No discrimination in terms of how the performance is evaluated. There should be transparent processes being used by the organization which treat people fairly as far as the work outcomes are concerned, right? So it focuses on people's desire to be treated fairly, right? Now, one will experience equity if there is a perception of fair treatment in comparison to others. So whenever somebody performs in the organization, they will always try to evaluate their performance efforts with the outcomes with others' performance efforts and outcomes. Now, if they feel that according to what others have performed and others what they have performed, they have there is a fair treatment, they will experience equity. Now, equity doesn't mean equality. Equality means equal distribution of rewards will not be there. That's not the question here. Equal distribution of rewards is not what equity theory says that. According to the performance, according to the efforts, whatever you are receiving, that is an equity. Mean if somebody is putting in more efforts and their performance was found to be good enough to get reward, they should be getting it. On the other hand, if somebody is in case of the comparison or evaluation is putting in less efforts and the performance is not that great, they will not be receiving that efforts. But the idea is the process being followed is free from any kind of biases and discrimination, then people will say that they are experiencing equity, right? On the other hand, if we talk about inequity, this is about perception of unfair treatment in comparison to others. If at all people perceive that how their performance is evaluated and how they are being treated in the organization in comparison to others, and if they feel that there is a perception wise unfair treatment, then they experience inequity. Okay. Now, person's assessment of self inputs and outcomes in relation to another's is what this theory talks about. Always when the assessment is being done, a person always compare one's input and outcomes in relation to others' inputs and outcomes, right? So now these can be inequity or equity depending upon what is the perception in the mind of the person who is evaluating, right? Let's look into this. Formation of perceptions based on equity or inequity ratios. Now, you'll see that here we'll say that outcome of a person versus input of the input of that person, outcome of others with input of others. Now we are comparing where OP stands for outcomes of person, IP stands for input of person, OO stands for outcome of others, IO stands for input of others. It's very important. See, when we compare the ratios, how much output I have received from the inputs and how much output others have received from the input, what is the comparison there, right? Now, you can say that sometimes you experience this thing, your output in ratio of inputs are more than others output or input, or it could be lesser, or it could be equal. Now, this perception have also roots in distributive and procedural justice. Let's say we are evaluating somebody's performance, right? The procedure which is being used should be same for everybody, same benchmark, okay, same standards which should be used for evaluating somebody's performance, right? It is important. If there is a difference in the benchmark and the standards, then there is no procedural equity. The procedure used to evaluate somebody's performance is not fair, is not same, so one can perceive inequity there. Other hand, distributive justice, how much one is getting out of after the evaluation, is that in equity or not? Meaning that we are not talking about everybody should get equal rewards. We are getting that people are getting rewards depending upon how much they have worked in that particular setting, how much they have contributed, depending upon that they are receiving the rewards, right? We will continue our discussion on equity theory of motivation in the next session.